The Lavender Scar, presented by Mark Silva and Caden Sykes. What does the word lavender really mean to the LGBTQ? And how is it chosen for representation? As stated in the article, the color came to symbolize empowerment. Lavender sashes and armbands were distributed to a crowd of hundreds in a gay power march from Washington Square Park to Stonewall Inn, located in New York, to commemorate the Stonewall riots that had just taken place a month before. The color lavender really represented a lot for the LGBTQ in their movement. The lavender color has had its own historical significance in representing resistance and power. The flower itself has had history, as members of the lesbian community would give these flowers as a sign of sapphic interest. What was the origin of the lavender scare? The 1950s was when the American culture first experienced the lavender scare, which was a fear that really started coming up during the Cold War, when it was believed by people of the US government that gay men and lesbians were a threat to national security. People thought homosexuals were disloyal, so they started to question and investigate anyone in a government working place who seemed or had a reputation of having sexual or romantic relationships with people of the same sex. This picture right here is from the Lavender Scare documentary from 2017. I haven't personally watched it, but if you guys want to check it out, yeah, it's a 2017 documentary. What were the effects on the US citizens during the Lavender Scare? The gay community in the 50s were living in fear. Police started getting involved and would help arrest homosexual citizens. Neighbors would give their suspected homosexual neighbors' names to the Civil Service Commission.
What happened to the homosexuals with the government positions? There was a witch hunt on homosexuals, and the government would seek out gay men and lesbians and remove them from any positions within the government. They had a policy that excluded all gay men and lesbians from the government jobs. Some people lost only their jobs, and if not, their lives. It was pretty much impossible at the time to know everyone who was affected because the people were forced to resign themselves rather than fight back and risk exposure, or who stood to the government during the Lavender Scare. At this time, people were scared to stand up against the government, but brave individuals like Frank Kremlin stood up against the government. At some point stated in this article, an astronomer from the US Army Map Service was fired because of his homosexuality. He devoted his life to the gay rights movement in America. He was one of the major protesters in the Lavender Scare movement. He was even in front of the White House protesting and risking his own life when later his federal badge was restored back to him, and the homosexuals got back their jobs and restored their careers.